Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So, mini super early spoiler season for March of the Machine is apparently here, and oh my goodness, no way. Okay, Jin-Gitaxias is back. Now, I kind of probably should have expected to see the Praetors back in action because, yeah, I mean, the entire set is like, hey, Francia. But also, like, we went for years and years and years without getting another version of Jin-Gitaxias. Took up until, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty to get one, and yet here is another one. So yeah, I mean, I assume that we are going to be getting all 5 Praetors again. One of each of them, essentially, right? And each kind of maybe with this exact same format, because this is a brand new Jin-Gitaxias that is in MDFC with an incredibly powerful and, pretty brutal saga on the back. And my goodness, does this card have a ton of potential? Is this commander just absolutely incredible and insane? And I'm not looking, to go up against anytime soon. That's going to be not looking forward to it. It's going to be quite scary. Regardless, let's jump into the card. Jin-Gitaxias, 5/5 Phyrexian Praetor, Ward 2, because it needed that. That costs 3 blue. It says, whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, draw a card. So a lot of card advantage potential there, but you have not seen the half of it, literally. Pay 3 and a blue, exile Jin-Gitaxias, return to the battlefield, transformed under someone's control. You can only activate as a sorcery, and only if you got 7 more cards in your hand. You're in mono blue, so you have plenty of ways to draw cards, and also your commander can help you draw cards too. Just get up to 7, and you can easily flip this, and when you do, oh gross, the Great Synthesis. Lore counter 1. Draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand. So basically, double up your hand size. So yeah, I mean, at the very least, you're going to have 7, right? Going to 14, but can be even more than that. Also, of course, on top of that, you have a maximum hand size for as long as you control the Great Synthesis. So as long as this is in play, you just can have this giant hand. Lore counter 2. Return all non-Phyrexian creatures to their owner's hands. So let's bounce all the non-Phyrexians. Probably all your opponent's creatures. So yeah, goodbye to all their creatures. Yours very well might stay in play. And the third lore counter is, you may cast any number of spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. Exile the Great Synthesis to return to the battlefield, front face up. Oh my goodness. Okay, so that is basically omniscience for a turn, essentially. Or not for a turn, but for, a one-off effect. You know what I mean. Regardless, this is a mass draw spell, essentially. Then it goes into a mass bounce spell, which goes into a mass cast all the omniscience things. You know what I mean? Gross. And again, it's not like, oh, yeah, sacrifice it or whatnot. No. This just flips back into original Jin-Gitaxias on the front. And then you're like, oh, yeah, let's just do it again. Because obviously you're going to have enough cards in your hand, most likely, after, cast some cards for your hands for free. And you're like, hey, I'll either just keep, 7 cards in my hand, or I'll cast, some draw spells that draw me even more cards. So then I can just, pay to do this again, and again, and again. And yeah, again, when I said this did not need the Ward 2, I was not kidding. This does not need Ward 2. And also, we'll talk about some ways to make this saga on the back even better, or even quicker, I should say. But yeah, there's a lot of potential for this. It is quite gross. Wizards, my goodness. With all that said, on episodes like this, I'm going to take you through cards that work really well with this, both budget buys, cards within my price range of less than $1 per card, and then cards that are outside of that, the pricier picks. And yeah, there's going to be a link in the description below that has all those cards. And if you're excited about this commander, you probably should pick up some cards sooner rather than later, because it's Jin-Gitaxias. It's probably going to be very, 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 very popular. So yeah, make sure you pick up some of those cards before the prices jump. Now, with all that said, let's jump into it. First up, let's talk about the budget buys. Again, cards that are less than $1. First up, Overflowing Insight. Again, the requirement for this commander is literally just, hey, make sure you got 7 cards in your hand and you're good to go. So, hey, target player draws 7 cards. Great, just cast that and you automatically are going to meet that requirement, so you can utilize your commander to the fullest and flip it over to the backside. And also, of course, just having a massive, awesome spell like this can be great when you get that omniscience type effect and you're like, yeah, I'll just draw, 7 cards and then set myself up for next time. Speaking of setting yourself up, Thought Reflection. an enchantment that is fantastic. If you draw a card, draw 2 cards instead. So first up, this doubles up your commander's production, essentially, again, when you're casting those big non-creature spells, or I should say big, but it's like medium-sized to bigger, essentially. But yeah, whenever you're casting those, instead of just drawing 1, you are drawing 2, and of course with all the other draw effects as well, doubling that up. And yeah, I mean, now, again, when the first lore counter goes off, right, drawing cards equal number of cards in your hand. So let's just say, again, you have 7 cards in your hand, okay? You would be drawing, again, 7 with that, but now you're drawing 14 with that, going up to 21 cards just for having this in play. And that's kind of, again, the minimum of what that potential is. Tezzeret's Gambit, another card that has a great amount of potential with this. Draw 2 cards and proliferate. First up, again, this card does have a CMC of above 3 mana, so cool. Let's draw another card with that. So draw 3 cards for essentially 3 mana and 2 life. Proliferating, again, this is a massive mechanic when it comes to utilizing that with the Great Synthesis. You can just get another lore counter on the Great Synthesis to make that saga go through its phases much quicker. Instead of having to wait, you're just like, no, yeah, let's wipe the board. Oh, then I'll proliferate again with something else. Oh, okay, let's just Omniscience, essentially. Yeah, this can be quite gross. And of course, we got even more proliferate effects, from the brand new Phyrexia set that just came out. Reject Imperfection is one of them. Counter target spell. That spell's mana value is 3 or less. Proliferate. So, if it's a small spell, great, let's just, take advantage of that and say, no, whatever you're trying to do. No, that's not happening. No, you can't Swords of Plowshares, my commander. No. Let's proliferate then as well, and yeah, have a good time. Desolation Twin. Whenever you cast a spell, create a 10/10 color spell, draws a creature token. So yeah, I mean, you are just like, again, once you get to that 3rd lore counter, Omniscience, essentially, let's just cast some massive creatures for free. And again, it is cast. It's not just, put them into play. It's not like, put Burnance into play. No. It's cast whatever you want. So you do get cast triggers like this one, giving you 20 power across 2 bodies. And this is, of course, after you just bounce all your opponent's creatures back to their hands. So they are going to be scrambling to get anything in play, because you are going to have a massive army that can take them out in absolutely no time. Artisan of Kozilek taking, speaking of taking players out and taking things out, a 10/9 Eldrazi. It says when you cast it, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So a free reanimation effect, essentially, again. And also on top of that, Annihilator 2. So yeah, very deadly, very brutal, making your opponent sacrifice permanents when you attack them with this. So yeah, I mean, in combination with, again, the mass bounce effect and the mass cast effect, this is going to get pretty deadly. Speaking of deadly, yeah, how about Clone Legion? A massive spell that helps us just double up, essentially, our own army. Well, for this circumstance, that's probably what you're going to be doing, obviously, because you're bouncing your opponent's things. You're going to have a massive army yourself, and then you're like, oh, yeah, cool, let's just make it twice as large now. Get a copy of every single one of my creatures. Great. Psychosis Crawler. This one can be a great way to finish your opponents off. Power and toughness each equal number of cards in your hand, so this can be absolutely huge. Again, I mean, you have no maximum hand size when the Great Synthesis is in play. You can draw a ton of cards with that and all the effects. And yeah, I mean, this can obviously take players out as well, but more importantly, whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. So that is going to be what is going to be taking out most of your opponents most of the time. You can draw an absurd amount of cards in absolutely no time with a commander like this and drain your opponents out quite effectively. And you can also utilize even more controlling effects like River's Rebuke. Return an online permanent target player controls back to their owner's hand. Again, when you get that Omniscience type effect, you can basically be like, oh yeah, I've got all these other spells. Okay, I bounced your creatures, but don't bounce all your other things too, so you have absolutely nothing, setting you back to square one essentially, whereas I am just playing basically my entire deck. Moving on, let's talk about the pricier picks. And we're going to start things off with a very pricey card. I think this card's like $30 or $40 right now, but a great one with this commander, Training Grounds. It's an enchantment for just a single mana that can save you a ton of mana throughout the game. Activate abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. So, Jin-Gitaxias' effect again, cost 3 and a blue. Now this just makes it cost 1 and a blue, 2 mana, which means that it's going to be very easy for you to activate this, potentially even multiple times on a turn. Again, flip your Jin-Gitaxias, use some proliferate effects to make it so that you go through those, saga phases more and more quickly, and then just do it again, and again, and again. Gross. Next up, speaking of gross, Karn's Bastion, Inexorable Tide. some more expensive proliferate effects that we can utilize with this pricier picks. Picard's Bastion, just a land that can help us out. Again, just taking up basically no slot in the deck. Pay 4, tap proliferate. That is well worth utilizing again when we want to get to one of those higher lore counters. Again, either that, mass bounce effect if we need it, or again, getting to the ability to just omniscience everything out. Inexorable Tie, whenever you cast a spell proliferate, we're going to be casting a ton of spells. Again, if we've got other kinds of counters out there as well, maybe +1/+1 counters, maybe we got charge counters on something like an Everflowing Chalice, that can be absolutely incredible. But yeah, this is just another way to say, you know what? I would like to get more and more counters on my, great synthesis, so here we go. And like I mentioned earlier, yeah, keep in mind, hey, the new Francia set just came out, which means we've got more and more ways to proliferate, like Staff of Completion. This does a lot of things. Tap, we can, pay 1 life and destroy target permanently owned. Tap, pay 2 life, add 1 of any color. Tap, pay 3 life, proliferate. Tap, pay 4 life, draw a card. Pay 5, untap it. So, yeah, I mean, the one I'm bringing up right now and highlighting is that proliferate effect. But yeah, just putting this on a mana rock, that can be another great resource for us. Speaking of resources, yeah, Omniscience. You can basically use the Great Synthesis to kind of Omniscience out Omniscience. And then you have, you guessed it, Omniscience. You may cast spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. So, now you don't even need to go through those steps of the actual Great Synthesis. I mean, it would be nice to just actually, get more and more cards, obviously. But now you just have Omniscience in place, so you can just cast things for free. And yeah, basically, just getting this in play, you're probably guaranteed a win. It's going to be very difficult for your opponents to ever stop you. And speaking of which, Expropriate. Yeah, gross. Starting with you, each player votes for time or money. For each time vote, take an extra for this one. For each money vote, choose a permanent owned by the voter and gain control of it. Exile Expropriate. Yeah, this is the type of commander that can really benefit from a lot of extra turn spells, especially gross ones, giant ones like this. Because, yeah, you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go through the, steps of these, lore counters. I will get to that last one of missions, and I'll just cast next turn spell for free. Next turn, I'll do the exact same thing, because I'm proliferating to get back through that saga. Do it again, and again, and again. And, okay, when it comes to gross things, though, Jin-Gitaxias, Core Augur, yeah, you can use Jin-Gitaxias in a Jin-Gitaxias deck. Lovely, a 5/4 Praetor with Flash that costs 8 blue, but again, when you Omniscience, effect either with Omniscience or, with the actual Great Synthesis, you're going to get this into play for free. At the beginning of your end step, you draw 7 cards, which is incredible with this entire setup. And what's even grosser, though, is each opponent's maximum hand size is reduced by 7, so they have no hand size. They cannot keep a hold of cards. They are going to be discarding at their end step. And they're not going to have any cards. You're going to have all the cards, and yeah, you can easily win with that. Kozilek Butcher of Truth, again, like I mentioned, your Great Synthesis, third lore counter, again, allows you to cast cards, not just, place them into play. So you can cast all of them, including this one, which, again, has a great cast trigger. Draw 4 cards. It's a 12/12 Annihilator 4. And you can obviously get it back if it's put in your graveyard, shovels back in your library. And yeah, with all the card draw you have access to, you're going to be able to get back to it again. Blightsteel Colossus. Of course. I mean, 11/11, Trample Infect Indestructible for 12. If you can cheat something into play, why not cheat in something that can one-shot any of your opponents with that fantastic Infect? So yeah, definitely another gross thing to consider for this gross commander. So again, I definitely did not expect to see a Praetor back in action so quickly. And yeah, I mean, I definitely was wrong on that because I was like, you know what, again, between the first 2 times we saw, the newer versions of the Praetors, there's a giant gap, a massive gap between like the original Mirrodin and the most recent ones that came out. I think Vorinclex was the first new Praetor that came out, right? And that was back in Kaldheim. So it's been a long time coming for these, and now it's like, no, here's another version right away. So yeah, I mean, Jin-Gitaxias, well, it came out like a year ago. We already have another version of it, and again, a gross, disgusting version that definitely didn't need Ward 2, and that Saga side is incredibly powerful. I'm wondering if, with these new Praetors, I'm guessing we're going to get a cycle of them, all 5 of them, right? That's what my guess is. And I'm not sure if they're all going to be Sagas on the back, or maybe if it's going to be a different kind on the back. Maybe one's, like a regular enchantment, one's an artifact, one's a land on the back. I mean, if I had to guess, I guess Saga, just because story-wise and whatnot. We shall see, though. But yeah, Jin-Gitaxias, this commander has a lot of potential. I think a lot of players are going to be very excited about it. And again, if you are one of those players, make sure you check out that card list link in the description below and consider picking up some of those cards sooner rather than later. And with that, today's episode is coming to a close. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on it in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.